Can the American dream still transform lives, or has it become a fading promise for too many? For generations, the United States has stood as a symbol of opportunity, drawing countless dreamers to cities like Denver, Colorado in pursuit of a better future. Yet beneath the city's vibrant surface lies a harsh reality. Hard-working families are slipping into homelessness, their aspirations crushed by an unforgiving system. This crisis isn't unique to Denver, it's a national wound seeping into suburbs and small towns alike.
I'm sorry, I also have issues with mental health. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and that contributes to my homelessness too. But hopefully America will wake up.
In this video, we dive into the heartbreaking truth of why Americans, despite pouring their hearts into endless work, are forced to call their cars home. We'll shine a light on those hit hardest, especially seniors who've given their lives to this country only to face a system that's turned its back on them. Share your thoughts in the comments. What does the American dream mean to you today after all you've seen and lived through? 1. The scale of the crisis, a human tragedy beyond the numbers. Homelessness in Denver has become a sobering wake-up call for the entire nation. On a single night in January 2024, the Department of Housing and Urban Development counted 7 to 15 Coloradans without a home, including 8 COVID-19 families, a staggering 134% surge in family homelessness compared to previous years. Metro Denver's 2023 point-in-time count found 9,065 homeless individuals, up nearly 32% from 2022, with first-time homelessness climbing sharply. Most heartbreaking of all, more than 23,000 students across Colorado were without stable housing in 2024, many sleeping in tents, cars, or under bridges. Yet even these alarming figures barely reveal the true scope of the crisis. Service data suggests that as many as 28,034 people in Denver sought help over the course of the year, meaning the actual number of those experiencing homelessness could be several times higher than official counts. These aren't just statistics, they're human lives unraveling. Children huddled in makeshift camps, their futures stalled before they've begun. Seniors who've worked their entire lives are now forced to sleep in parking lots. Families teetering on the edge, undone by a single medical bill or job loss. The forces driving this crisis are clear.
So we need houses that are low income for people that would be rented to them according to their income. That's 0 to 30%. Here in Denver, we have 23,000 houses that are empty, but they on the higher end, 60% and up.
Rents in Denver jumped 8% in 2024, while the supply of affordable housing remains critically low, just 34 units available for every 100 low-income households. In this environment, 70% of low-income renters are paying over half their income toward rent, leaving nothing for emergencies and making eviction a constant threat. And this crisis is not confined to the streets of Denver. It is spreading into suburbs and rural communities, places once thought immune to large-scale homelessness. For every person visibly living without shelter, countless more are one paycheck or one stroke of bad luck away from the same fate. The urgent question is no longer just how many are homeless. It's how many of us are living one step from losing everything. And perhaps the most haunting question of all, what does it say about the nation we built when a safe place to sleep has become a privilege rather than a basic right? 2, a fragile safety net, good intentions, gaping holes. Denver's efforts to combat homelessness are built on a patchwork of policies, part innovation, part missed opportunity.
As you know, this will be now, our 8th site that will be opening across 5 council districts as a part of our House 1000 effort that we have now dubbed All In Mile High as part of our ongoing effort.
Mayor Mike Johnston's All In Mile High initiative has shown what targeted action can do, moving to the 169 people indoors in 2024 and setting its sights on prioritizing permanent housing over temporary fixes in 2025. The program's near total success in housing Denver's 52 homeless veterans by late 2024 proves that focused resources can deliver results. New developments such as a community for single parents opened in May 2025 and the revitalized Renewal Village offer glimmers of hope, yet they barely meet the scale of demand. Some steps toward accountability have been taken, like rejecting a $3 million Salvation Army contract in March 2025 over safety concerns, replacing it with monthly shelter inspections and better staff training. Still, systemic gaps persist. The proven Housing First model, which combines housing with mental health and addiction support, has a 98% success rate in keeping people housed. Yet far too few can access this lifeline, with only a fraction of eligible households receiving federal vouchers, like Section 8. Affordable homes remain scarce, and with Colorado facing a shortage of roughly 70,000 units, the safety net feels more like a tightrope. One misstep can send a family into crisis. Coordination between agencies often falters, particularly during emergencies, leaving seniors, disabled individuals, and struggling families in limbo. Meanwhile, Denver's homelessness spending running into hundreds of millions annually faces criticism for inefficiency, as costly temporary solutions like hotel conversions divert resources from building permanent housing. The intentions are there, but they cannot bridge the gap between the overwhelming need and the current reality. When systems fail, it's the most vulnerable who suffer: seniors on fixed incomes, parents trying to protect their children, and individuals battling addiction or mental illness. The question remains, when the safety net starts to unravel, who bears the cost, and why isn't more being done to mend it? Three, the most vulnerable carrying the heaviest burden. In Denver, homelessness strikes without mercy, but its cruelest toll falls on the most fragile, especially seniors. The elderly, many living on meager Social Security checks, face a brutal reality where rising rents devour their fixed incomes. For them, homelessness isn't just hardship, it's a death sentence. On the streets, chronic illnesses like diabetes or heart disease spiral out of control, and cognitive decline hastens turning years of hard-earned wisdom into a fight for survival. In an unforgiving economy, seniors over 50 are left vulnerable, with death rates far higher than their house peers, a stark reminder of a system that's abandoned its elders. Yet seniors aren't alone in this struggle. Families with children, often migrants fleeing desperate circumstances, arrive in Denver only to confront a housing market that locks them out. Black and Native American communities face disproportionate hardship, a legacy of systemic barriers like redlining and discriminatory lending that have blocked wealth building for generations. Survivors of domestic violence face an agonizing choice: endure abuse or risk the streets where shelters are often full. LGBTQ+ youth rejected by families and young adults aging out of foster care also swell the ranks, stripped of the safety nets others take for granted. Each group battles a system that seems rigged against them. Seniors, however, face unique obstacles. Many lack the strength or tech skills to navigate job markets or online aid systems, leaving them stranded in a world built for the young and able-bodied. Widowed or estranged, they often have no one to turn to, no family, no safety net. Programs designed for senior housing like Section 202 are woefully underfunded, offering a mere handful of units despite desperate need. For seniors of color, systemic racism compounds the pain as historical injustices leave them with fewer resources to weather economic storms. This crisis lays bare a painful truth. Homelessness isn't a personal failure, but a systemic betrayal, where one stroke of bad luck, an illness, an eviction can plunge anyone into despair. When society lets its most vulnerable slip through the cracks, what does that say about our values? Four, the roots of the crisis, a system stacked against the vulnerable. To grasp the crisis of homeless in America, we must shatter the myths blaming personal failings like laziness or addiction. In Denver, the true culprit is a dire shortage of affordable housing that turns the American dream into a cruel illusion. Rent for a modest apartment far outpaces what most workers, especially those earning minimum wage, can afford. This leaves low-income renters pouring over half their income into rent, with no safety net for life's inevitable setbacks. A sudden illness, a car repair, or a job loss can trigger eviction in mere weeks. Even middle-income earners, once symbols of stability, now find themselves trapped as permanent renters, one misfortune away from the streets. Systemic failures fuel this precarity. Federal housing subsidies reach only a fraction of those in need, leaving millions to navigate a market rigged against them. Mental health and addiction services vital for many homeless individuals are chronically underfunded, offering band-aid solutions when comprehensive care is essential. Historical injustices redlining discriminatory lending have robbed marginalized communities of wealth-building opportunities, leaving them exposed to economic shocks. Personal crises like domestic violence or family breakdowns often deliver the final push into homelessness. Shockingly, many homeless individuals hold jobs working tirelessly yet unable to afford a place to live, a stark testament to a broken system. Political divides only deepen the crisis. Denver's sanctuary city policies, now facing federal scrutiny as of May 2025, draw migrants who overwhelm local shelters, straining resources. Meanwhile, competing approaches Denver's Housing First model, which prioritizes housing without preconditions, versus neighboring Aurora's Work First philosophy, skirt the core issue, a housing market that excludes millions. The truth is undeniable. Most homeless individuals don't choose this life. They're caught in a system that denies them a fair chance. From discriminatory policies to inadequate support, the barriers are systemic, not personal. This crisis demands we look beyond blame and confront the structures that perpetuate it. What barriers in your community have you seen pushing people toward homelessness, and who's holding the system accountable? Five, government response, ambitious efforts, and even results. Denver has poured significant resources into tackling homelessness, yet the outcomes spark more questions than answers. Mayor Mike Johnston's All in Mile High initiative has shown promise, moving thousands into shelter and prioritizing permanent housing solutions for 2025. The program's success with veterans stands out, with nearly all homeless veterans in Denver housed by late 2024, a testament to what targeted efforts can achieve. Innovative projects like a new community for single parents and the redeveloped Renewal Village offer glimmers of hope, but they fall far short of meeting the overwhelming demand. In early 2025, the city took a stand by rejecting a problematic contract with a major shelter provider over safety concerns, committing to stricter inspections and better staff training, a move toward accountability. However, these efforts are undermined by systemic inefficiencies. The Housing First model, which pairs housing with mental health and addiction support, proves highly effective keeping most participants stably housed, yet it reaches only a small fraction of those in need due to limited funding. Federal housing subsidies like Section 8 are similarly scarce, leaving countless families exposed to a ruthless market. Coordination between agencies. Ardid FEMA and Health and Human Services remains disjointed, especially during crises wasting precious resources. A recent report exposed Denver's struggle to track its massive spending on homelessness, raising doubts about whether funds are being used effectively. Temporary solutions like costly hotel conversions drain budgets that could build lasting homes. Political gridlock further complicates progress. A 2025 federal lawsuit targeting Denver's sanctuary city policies threatens support for migrant families who've driven a sharp rise in homelessness. Debates over competing approaches. Housing first versus work first models divert focus from the core issue, a housing shortage that locks millions out. Despite substantial investment, the question lingers. If so much is spent on addressing the homeless in America, why are the streets still filled with those in need? Denver's efforts show potential, but without better coordination, transparency, and a commitment to permanent solutions, the crisis persists, leaving vulnerable communities to bear the consequences of a system that promises much but delivers unevenly. Six, a path forward, bold solutions for a systemic crisis. Ending homelessness in Denver requires systemic change, not quick fixes. First, the city must massively expand affordable housing. Fully funding programs like Section 8 and Section 202 to cover 100% of low-income households, similar to SNAP for food assistance, is essential. Raising the minimum wage to $20 would align with Denver's cost of living, giving workers a fighting chance. Scaling up housing first with wraparound services for the mental health addiction and job training is non-negotiable. Its 90% success rate proves its efficacy. Community-level solutions are equally vital. A prevention program like California's Home Safe, offering financial aid and case management to at-risk seniors, could be transformative. Anti-discrimination laws banning bias against voucher holders would open more doors. For migrants, dedicated housing and job programs could ease pressure on local systems. Public awareness campaigns like the St. Francis Center's art project with formerly homeless residents can reduce stigma and rally support. Innovative funding models such as taxing second homes or leveraging public-private partnerships could close the 70,000 unit housing gap in Colorado. This isn't just about policy, it's about collective will to treat housing as a human right. For individuals, prevention is key. Building an emergency fund covering 3-6 months of expenses, seeking affordable housing early, and supporting local shelters like the Denver Rescue Mission can make a difference. Advocacy matters too. Backing candidates who champion housing and welfare reforms can shift the tide. Denver's future depends on whether we view homelessness as a solvable problem or an inevitable tragedy. Scaling up housing first and subsidies could cut homelessness by 25% by 2027 per the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. The question is whether we'll act before the crisis worsens. 7. Denver's future, a crossroads of hope and despair. Without decisive action, Denver's homelessness crisis threatens to worsen, with experts warning of a significant rise by 2030, particularly devastating seniors and families as rents soar and affordable housing dwindles. Colorado's massive housing shortage won't resolve itself, and political clashes over migration policies and competing approaches. Housing first versus work first models risk deepening the divide, yet glimmers of hope remain. The near elimination of veteran homelessness in Denver proves what's possible when resources and focus align. Scaling up proven strategies like Housing First, which pairs housing with comprehensive support, could transform countless lives, but it demands bold political will and unwavering public commitment to prioritize housing as a right. For individuals, every action counts. Donating to groups like the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, volunteering at local shelters, or advocating for housing reforms can spark meaningful change. These small steps create ripple effects, challenging the systems that perpetuate homelessness. Nationally, the crisis is a clarion call for action. With millions of Americans living in cars and low-income renters, just one missed paycheck from eviction homeless in America is not a distant problem, but a national emergency demanding urgent response. Denver's future hangs in the balance. Will it become a city where no one sleeps on the streets, or one where despair overtakes hope? The answer lies in our collective resolve to act. What will you do to ensure no one in your community faces the streets alone? By supporting policies that close the housing gap and backing leaders who prioritize solutions, we can steer Denver and the nation toward a future where the American dream is within reach for all, not just a privileged few. Eight, a call to action, reclaiming the American dream. The homelessness crisis in Denver is a warning that the American dream is slipping away for millions. It's not just about numbers, it's about lives, children, seniors, families trapped in a system that fails them. This crisis demands more than sympathy, it requires action. Break the stigma that blames the homeless for their plight. Most are victims of systemic failures, not personal shortcomings. Support organizations like the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless push for policies that make housing a right, and vote for leaders who will close the housing gap. Share this video, spark conversations, and demand accountability from those in power. Together, we can build a Denver and an America where no one sleeps under a bridge or in a car. The American dream isn't dead, but it's on life support. Will we revive it or let it fade into the night? Drop your ideas in the comments, and let's ensure no one is left behind.